Welcome back to another episode of Diary and Executive. Today, our topic is life philosophies and leadership with our 2026 Personal Growth Society President, Rivan Roy, and our Events Director and 2025 President, Avieral Singh. Hi, Rivan and Avieral. How are you doing?
Hi, Natalie. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm doing great as well, Natalie.
How's your Chidiac been?
Do you want to go first, Rob?
It's been busy, but it's been pretty fun. I'm enjoying a bit of time to just focus on some things outside of uni. And
Yeah.
It's definitely been a good opportunity to relax and actually take a step back from, the life of university, especially with all the assignments that are due. And obviously it's a great chance to catch up on all the exams and just sleep in, actually take care of yourself for once in a while. So
Yeah. I'm going to start us off. The first question I always ask every guest is, what is personal growth to you? Rivan was our first episode guest, so if you've watched since the beginning, you would know what he answered, but I'm curious to see if your answer has changed now. If there's anything that's changed in you even since September, October.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I'll probably give a different answer. I don't remember what I said last time, but personal growth to me is it's about a sense of belonging, finding a sense of belonging within a group of people, but more so within yourself. And it's just kind of working on that relationship you have with yourself, how you view yourself, how you feel about your day-to-day life, your achievements, and where there's a discrepancy between what you want versus what you have and the journey you kind of take to get there. That's what personal growth means to me.
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think my view on personal growth is definitely a bit more abstract. I view it as a form of, continuously reinventing yourself on the pursuit of whatever it means to live by your own values, your own integrity. And I truly think that it's never really reaching a state of point where now I'm finally him or her or that person who's finally figured everything out. I don't think anyone really knows what their potential is. And on that pursuit of really just living by your own values, I think it's just a constant cycle of reevaluating yourself, seeing what habits you picked up that worked before, like back in your childhood, that don't work now at your current stage of life, taking them away, picking some new concept in, and kind of just dissecting yourself almost surgically, maybe not surgically, but yeah, it's like evolution, constant evolution throughout all life. So I think personal growth is whatever that evolution takes on the journey that is brought by living by your own values and integrity.
Yeah, I remember in the first episode, I asked them how they would summarize personal growth in one word, and I said evolution. I think personal growth for me is evolution that makes you healthy and happy. I think that's how I would define it.
Lovely.
I feel like these are the two criteria that I would go by to determine if I'm improving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, in your definitions, you kind of foreshadowed what I'm going to ask you. So the second question is, on an individual level, what values guide you and how would you describe your general mindset in life?
Yeah, that one it's a good one. So what values guide you? Is that
personal values.
Yeah. I think some values I have that guide me are kind of just honesty is the big one, but it's not because my answer was about my relationship with myself. It was being honest with yourself. That's a big one, because half the time maybe you're too you're self-critical or you're delusional, right? It's the two extremes, and it's kind of finding that in between where you just see yourself as you are, and maybe that makes you happy, maybe that makes you frustrated, but just being able to be honest and then accept to yourself, I'm being honest and this is okay. That's something that guides me a lot in my personal growth journey, because then it helps me stay objective in trying to set goals and achieve them. But some other values that I have, I would say, are just patience. It's a big one. It's probably the toughest one. Just being patient everyone wants to get to the end goal like overnight, and although you can get quite far in such little time, sometimes it just doesn't go your way. Sometimes it doesn't go. It's not a very linear process, and it's very annoying when you go up and down, up and down. For example, I'm trying to reach a certain weight in my bulk in the gym, and I was making a lot of good progress, and I'm actually down a few kilos now than I was a few months ago. And this hit me just, I think it was 2 nights ago, and I was just very frustrated. But I think it's just accepting that the journey's not done, and just because you're not where you are doesn't mean that you're never going to get there. So it's just having that honesty with yourself, but also just recognizing that the process isn't linear, and you can get there even if it takes time. So that's why patience is a big one for me. I said those are my top 2. Yeah.
Some good values. I definitely agree with a lot of them. I think for me, it's hard to answer which values I specifically live by for personal growth, because I don't think I have certain values that I say, oh, these are things at the forefront of my mind that go and make me, every single day I'm pursuing personal growth. These are the specific values that are going to be my guiding stone. I don't think it's...
Maybe just like generally in life.
Generally in life. Honesty is a good one. As Rivan said, I think, and it's the only one for me that I guess seems the most consistent, because a lot of personal growth is discovering who you are, and that's it. It's a discovery of who you are. You're exploring like new terrains of yourself, of your own identity. So I try not to go and tell myself, oh, I'm going to operate in this way as like a good human being, because it sounds nice in theory. It sounds really great and like satisfying to go and tell myself, oh, here are the guidelines I've set for myself on how to operate. But then as you're actually pursuing that personal growth journey, you'll see that like what you may actually want will deviate from what satisfies the intellect in your mind. So I think the honesty, as Rivan said, is a huge thing. Just being honest with myself, how I feel about my own growth, where I'm going, that's really it. It's more so about just staying on track with the process of going on the journey. I don't have values that, I guess, curate the journey, because truth to be told, I don't think anyone's... I mean, I think we could all agree here that like 5 years ago, we were very different people. And if we like thought of ourselves like, oh, who would we want to be 5 years from now? There'd be very different people from who we are now. So I do think, however, if I was more honest to myself, I stay true to myself in whatever way that may be, I think that's really all I can do in terms of living by a certain value, I guess.
I think for me, something that I really value, and something that like I really value in other people, like whatever type of relationship, is loyalty. Like I feel like loyalty is like probably one of the top things that I look for in people.
Oh.
I think it comes from a place of like being betrayed by a lot of friends at a younger age, and then that kind of cemented it even more as like a key trait that I look for. But even I think without that, I would have still like looked for that, but it wouldn't have been as front of mind.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, I actually feel kind of similar. Like loyalty within, especially other groups of people, it's a pretty big one. Like for me, like, life, you only get to live life once, and I think it's important to fill your life with people that want to keep you in it, as opposed to people who don't, especially if you're the one who's expressing or showing that loyalty to others, then it should be a two-way street. Yeah.
I remember reading this thing about loyalty and like the whole idea of like, I guess, betraying someone. It's if someone gives you their trust and then you go ahead and jeopardize that trust, damage it, that's on you. And that says a lot more about you. You may think that you won in the short term, but yeah, it says a lot about you and how, I guess, you can handle the trust that people have placed in you.
Yeah, I agree on that one.
Mhm.
The second part of the question was, do you have like a general mindset in life, like a growth one, a fixed one, maybe not necessarily those ones, but like, do you operate in some particular way?
Do you want to?
Yeah, so earlier on I mentioned integrity. And what do I mean by that? And to be honest, I feel like I'm a bit vague myself when I talk about that. And it really does link back to honesty in the aspect of living true to myself, right? Your mind is the easiest person to trick. The last thing I want to be is someone who thinks he's really amazing and all of that, like just top dog or whatever that may be, without actually having anything to show apart from a massive ego that he's managed to develop. Like at the end of the day, what do you get by making yourself feel mentally secure by delusions of, I guess, stories and narratives that you've created in your head to feel more confident? I think it's a lose-lose situation, to be honest. Like, yeah, you're happy, but it's a fake reality. You're not actually in touch with the reality. You're not living in this world. You're living in your own reality. And it's, yeah, that scares me. So I try to just work in accordance to my, whatever way I can work that I deem fit would be like the best way to move forward. And that's always changing. It depends on the situation, of course, because yeah, it's hard to have like a general like formula for approaching every single aspect of life. So I just try to make it a point to not betray myself by trying to give myself unnecessary wins, which I haven't received.
It's good that you're honest with yourself.
Mhm.
I feel like with the point on ego, like even when someone has a big ego, it reflects on their relationships. Like they just reply out of an ego. They don't actually listen to what's being said. It's just an ego response, and then that negatively affects every interaction you have with people.
Absolutely. And it goes both ways, because I feel like when most people think about ego, they think about it in the form of, thinking you're too amazing. But then there's also the opposite side where you think you're too inferior to other people. And so, yeah, it's hard to like find that right balance and actually draw the line and like genuinely relate with people. Not thinking you're better or worse, just you are as you are.
I was even saying it in the last episode with Nathan and Prem. We were talking about how all of us are equal at the end of the day. Like, okay, we gain power, status, like all of these things that like elevate us, but essentially at the end of the day, what unites us is our humanity and our emotions. So we're all equal.
Mm-hmm.
Are you satisfied with your current life and your current self? It's a bit confrontational.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's like I have a love-hate relationship with this one. I think I'm always split between yes and no, but the yes is saying, the yes is more like with respect to the past, right? And where am I now versus the past? And I think I'm in a better position than I was in the past. So from that point of view, I'm pretty happy with where I am. But then I also look at the future and where I want to be, and that makes me say no. So I think it's yes given the past and no given what I see for myself in the future. But I do try and remind myself that kind of what I was talking about, the process, linear process earlier, that it's a journey and we're young. You're also figuring out what works, what doesn't. So if you're not 100% on the limit every day achieving your goal, that's fine, right? Like most people aren't. And I think there are beautiful moments in between that you can just overlook and not enjoy if you're too focused on where you want to be and not where you are. It's kind of like you don't allow yourself to reap the benefits or enjoy the reward in between because you don't think you deserve it until you get to the end. I think that's one thing that happens with me, but I like to take a bit of time in between and realize, hey, I can enjoy some of these rewards in between, and there are plenty more to come. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, I would say for the most part, I am happy with where I am, but it's like having good cop and bad cop. Like, one is saying I'm proud of you, and then the other one is saying you can be more.
Yeah,
But-
it's that critical voice.
Yeah, and I think that balance is, or pretty well defines what I see personal growth to be, because it's not just about self-improvement, it's also about self-love, right? It's about appreciating yourself for what you are, whether that is what you want to be or not, but still loving yourself for who you are, what you've been through, and then having that other voice in your head which is saying you can improve in these areas, because then that means you have an upward trajectory, but it doesn't mean that you're like at the very bottom. Yeah.
I've learnt to love, like, not learnt to, like, because, like, you know how, like, the more you grow, the better you become, your life becomes better. So, like, obviously past versions of us are, like, less developed, less happy. So I still look on those past versions and I'm like, I love her. Like,
Yeah.
like, and, like, I like to acknowledge her presence, although she's no longer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have some self-love. I would actually argue that even though your past self doesn't technically exist, her habits, her way of thoughts definitely probably do in some way. Going on a bit of a tangent here, I feel like a lot of what personal growth has been, for me personally, has been a lot of unlearning a lot of past rules that I like had to go in my head. So we were talking about values, like how do you approach life? There were a lot of values that I put upon myself to like, oh, this is the way to go about approaching life in a very personal growth way, only to then move forward and realize this was necessary at its time for whatever reasons I needed it, but not anymore. And yeah, it's definitely about healing that aspect of you, which was definitely rooted in the past, but now you're at a different stage of life where you can actually answer your past sorrow. So, yeah.
When I did, like, intensive personal growth, I experienced that.
Yeah.
You just, like, get shocked with what you've accumulated over the years, and which was, like, unhealthy or toxic. But at the same time, like, when you're younger, you don't really know. You just hear all of these things, and like, it's just noise. You don't know that you have to filter through the noise and choose what is right, what isn't. So it was a bit of a shock when I was, like, going through and unlearning. But I'm glad now that I'm no longer there.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Okay, next question is, how do you usually process negative past experiences and make sense of them?
This is a good one for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
This one is interesting. Negative past experiences. I feel like a big part of it is not intellectualizing it, right? Intellectualizing it sounds really nice in theory, as most intellectual things do. But processing it emotionally is where real growth comes in. You can't intellectualize your way through life. That sounds really nice. I used to do this as well, and I still do actually quite a bit. But what I've discovered recently is you do have to face life for what it is. I used to have an idea that personal growth meant being someone who would become unbothered by his negative emotions, right? Someone who's immovable, right? So like, oh, someone could say something bad about me, boom. It doesn't even faze me, right? I would look at, these people who are enlightened, and the idea that I got from looking at these enlightened people, right, like monks or bold, meditating, like just in their own world, was like, I bet there's just nothing phases them whatsoever. And I feel like that's just incorrect. I think the best way about, processing negative emotions is learning how to move even with those negative emotions. Being there. Because it shows that you as a person don't need the perfect circumstances to actually move forward in life. And that you yourself can actually live in spite of all these, imperfections or negative events. And so how does that help in processing your negative experiences? For me personally, it's been more so about it's actually by not trying to intellectualize those negative experiences and try and solve them that has made it been possible for me to process them, because I realize they aren't everything, and because I'm still moving in my life, doing my own things, acting, not just thinking, acting, making actions, I'm also showing first-hand evidence that these issues are issues, but they aren't everything. Whereas if I continue trying to like think through every single problem that I had in life, I would basically be subconsciously telling myself, I can't move forward until this dilemma is solved. You have to keep like overthinking this, ruminating over it. And I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's actually feasible. And yeah, I think it's about just letting that negative emotion exist, but then also moving forward simultaneously.
Yeah, I really agree on everything you said. Even yesterday I read this thing where like don't always like absorb the emotion, just observe it and let it pass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that usually. I
No,
absorb
it's hard.
it,
It's hard.
and sit in it and ruminate and all that stuff. But even with like intellectualizing it, I feel like that's unhelpful also. Like there was a stage where I would sit there doing that, trying to explain to myself or make sense of what happened, but I didn't find that it led to anything useful. Whereas when I processed my emotions, that's what helped me move on. And I think I'm glad that at the time I was aware that if I don't process these emotions, it's going to flow into the next part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I stopped and I processed them.
Lovely, lovely. This is a bit of a weird analogy, but it's almost kind of like procrastination. Like, you know, you're procrastinating and you're thinking of like 10 billion excuses for why you, like, why can't I study? Why can't I get this work done? Why is this so unfun to do? Why is it just, I don't want to study? And then it's due, the assignment is due the next day, and all of a sudden it's like the person running your head is just out of there. And like another version of you comes and takes control over the wheel and is actually in the driver's seat now. And I find that that version of me is not one that's so, I don't even think that version of me really thinks. It just acts. It doesn't matter about whether I can get it done or not. I need to get it done. And it makes me think about like how many times in life, like, I know for me, to bring this analogy back from procrastination for exams to real life, how many times have my personal growth events happened because a serious event happened to me, something emotionally painful, something that forced me to confront, something I had to confront, whereas I could have instead taken it on myself to act before this massive event happened. And yeah, it's just something that's interesting how a lot of the growth that happens isn't through that intellectual activity, it's through doing it regardless of the intellectual activity, learning to operate without that, learning to operate quite frankly in uncertainty.
Yeah, and like discomfort. Because when you're comfortable, you're not growing. You're just stuck in your same spot.
Yeah.
True. It's actually something I've been fighting a lot recently, discomfort.
Yeah.
Because I say a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been finding a lot with me recently that I say a lot of things and it's easy to say it on the outside, especially when someone else asks for advice. And then when it comes to actually being in the situation and going through it, like when I look retrospectively at my life and I say I could have done this, that it would have been healthy for me to, I don't know, confront my emotions, actually just sit in it instead of trying to like push it away, things like that. But then when it comes to actually doing it, it's insanely difficult. And it's very easy to be like, oh, I don't want to do this. But then I just have to keep remembering that this is the way, you know, to do it. So yeah, I don't know. I find it really interesting that, like, I think it's a healthy approach, but it's much easier in theory than it is in practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I have to force myself to do it. Like,
Yeah.
if I don't force myself, I don't do it. So like, I literally just go by like Mel Robbins. Like, she just says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go do it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I just tell myself, switch your brain off and just go walk and do it.
Yeah.
Like, other than that, you're not gonna do it. Or what? Oh, I tell myself like, suck it up, and then I just go.
Mm.
Yeah. Is there anything you haven't made peace with yet, and what do you think is preventing this?
Just in general in life.
Yeah.
It's a very, I don't know, it's a very dark one, but I think it's good for me because it's still part of my journey. But it's actually the concept of like death, and that one day this all kind of comes to an end. It's something that I kind of like, I debate over the years. Sometimes I feel good about it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, wow, like I really feel it. And it's kind of interesting because I've been doing this since I was a kid, and I'm going to be 22 years old now and I'm still doing it. And I think it's probably on a subconscious level because I value my life and what I have in it, and I don't want that to end. So I think it's a very abstract thing, but it's something I haven't quite made peace with, and I think recently a big portion of that is because of the kind of life I want to have. And I'm still young, but let's say 30, 40 years go by, I'm sure that feeling will probably creep in more and more, as it does for most people. But it's funny because I objectively know that it's going to happen one day, and that's fine. That is what life is, right? Otherwise, every single person who has lived is going to go through that, or has gone through it already. But it's so funny to me that I seem to on and off struggle to make peace with that. Yeah, that got pretty existential.
Yeah,
but
I was expecting that.
yeah,
That's fair though.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think try not to think about it.
yeah.
Like focus on life.
Life,
Focus on the
yeah.
opposite.
Because that's true, because it's gonna end one day, but you don't decide when it does. And there's no point worrying about, and this is not just for that, but it's something I've been trying to practice a lot lately as well, is only worry about the things, or rather don't worry about the things that aren't in your control.
Yeah.
Because if they're not in your control, worrying isn't really going to do you much good. Yeah, you can worry and prep yourself emotionally, or the best way you can respond to something if it does happen. But like if you sit there worrying about it for hours, like that's not going to change whether it happens or not, you know.
Yeah.
So you're better off just focusing on what you can control and trying to worry less. Again, that's much easier said than done. It's easy to say that, but to do it is another thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's because it's in a different domain almost.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, yeah, it's easy to like, again, intellectualize, right?
Yeah.
But then it's almost like a different issue. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like it's like a central nervous system issue. Like what I mean by that is it's something that's more associated with your literal habits, what your brain is used to, what your brain's familiar with, right?
Yeah.
Like people can, for example, why there are some people who get so used to going to bad like relationships that aren't good for them, because their brains are literally wired to be used to that. That's what's most familiar to them. So they will naturally gravitate towards relationships that are unhealthy for them. And likewise, I think it's one of these things where even for like all of these personal growth concepts, and I completely agree with what Rivan was saying, you can know the theory. It's like Solomon's paradox. Like someone comes and asks you and you know all the answers, and when it comes to yourself, it's like, I have no clue why this isn't working. And it's because it's like the knowledge isn't flowing because it's blocked, right, in your body. And I guess that's the whole point of like fixing your habits. It's a very action-oriented process, because I feel like, I don't know, personally, me, for personal growth, I've approached it very much originally through a very like, oh, I need to understand more. There's not enough that I'm understanding. Even for this issue, I'm like, maybe I just need to understand more so I can be someone who can take action more. It's just literal lack of experience. Your brain has gotten too, I guess, used to thinking, and that's it. Just thinking and not actually taking the actions.
Yeah.
I think it's also we want to control everything because
Mhm.
that gives us a sense of security.
Yeah.
But like I always reflect on that, like you can't. The only thing you can't, or one of the only things you can't gain in life is security. Everything could change in a second, and you don't even know when it's gonna change.
That is true. That is true.
That is true. It's
And
very
then-
true.
Yeah, and I feel like also with the example of like death, I think there's also something that's like unhealthy, but something that as humans we always do is we get attached.
Yeah.
So maybe there's like a bit of attachment to life, which makes it harder to let go,
Yeah.
and then give in to death.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's actually a good way of seeing it. And it's funny because I think that's probably one of my biggest weaknesses is attachment, I would say. And whether that's to people or that's to life itself, that whether that's to like some of my own goals. Like I can be a little stubborn sometimes and I don't want to let go. But I guess you can argue as much of a weakness that's also a strength. So it depends how you look at it. But yeah, security, that one really hurt. Like security is the number one thing I want, but I know that it's the number one thing that I can't have.
Yeah.
And yeah, that makes it tough when you're in uncertain situations. But yeah.
Even like security for the future.
Yeah.
You don't know. Even like say for example you're 30 and like you've secured a particular future for yourself and you're happy with that.
Yeah.
It could just crumble in one day.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything.
No.
But I think that's comforting in its own way because it makes me realize the futility of all my attempts at securing security don't even matter in the first place. And if that's the case, what can I do? I think the only thing I can really do is act in this present moment according to my values. I can't own the future, but I can very much control my reaction to it. So, yeah.
I think also like recently I'm not at peace with this, how like you could be going through something and then it changes in 1 second and then you were stressing that whole time over it and then it's like but it changed in 1 second.
No.
So it makes life seem so superficial that in 1 second everything could change. It's like, why did I suffer all this much for it to change and turn around 360 degrees in 1 second?
No.
Like it makes everything feel futile.
No.
Interesting.
Oh, that's a good interesting perspective.
Yeah, I get pretty deep in my thoughts.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's unhealthy because I sink. What is your relationship with the human desire for purpose? Do you currently feel a sense of purpose and is it a goal of yours? Your reactions every time I ask a question is like...
They're good questions.
They definitely are. Yeah. I think for purpose, that's an interesting thing because it goes back to the whole integrity thing. I don't know what my purpose is, but what I do know is there are certain actions I can take that make me feel more at peace with myself, right? Whether that be like not acting in ways to, I guess, achieve external validation, whatever form that may be. Maybe it might be getting like, I don't know, a really high mark, getting someone's approval. These are external forms of, and they do feel great, but it almost feels like a distraction from the things that actually matter to you. And so for me, purpose is more so just about doing what feels right to me. Now that's vague. What does that even mean? Feels right to you. To be honest, I don't even know the answer to that in myself. I don't know what actually is right. I don't know what's wrong. It would be arrogant of me to assume that I actually have an idea of what is right or wrong. So it's just about what can I do at this best moment to the best of my abilities and values. And I can just continue doing my best right now, here and there, rather than trying to like formulate like a way of like, oh, my purpose is I'm going to act in this certain way. And there isn't anything wrong with that, to be honest. It's just for me personally, when I found that I've tried doing that, I've become a bit too, I guess, hardcore in how I've gone about doing that. And so I would say like my purpose would have been like something that's like really specific, something like really, for example, my purpose is to go and get a very high salary at this age, this kind of stuff. It's quite superficial, to be honest, and I think that it takes away your happiness from your present life, like this very moment, into like something that's like, oh, if I put all my happiness and ordain it into like this one overarching goal that will guide my entire life, everything I will do will have meaning, a purpose towards something greater and grand, at the cost of just putting away all that amazing happiness away. And yeah, I just don't think that's worked out for me. And so I've kind of realized it's more so about just reacting to this world in this present moment with who you are. Because that's really all we can do. I mean, even the idea of planning in of itself, like for the future, is really just an action that you are taking in the present. It's not like your planning is actually something that like takes into account what the future is. It's just an action you're taking to numb the pain of, or numb the anxiety of uncertainty. So yeah, I think my purpose is just, I'm gonna go do my best right now, because I don't know what is out there in the future. And I think we can all agree maybe on this, that the best things in life that do happen are often very much unexpected, like out of our plans. I don't think any of us ever expected like something that really good does happen to us to happen to us in the first place. So why not just prepare myself, make myself happy every single moment, try my best and live accordance to my integrity.
Yeah. I feel like also if you diversify what makes you happy in the future, I think that's healthier than basing on one thing, because you could reach that one thing and then you're like, oh, that didn't actually make me happy. And I feel even if that's the thing that you think is going to make you happy, like I think in every experience in life there's a positive and a negative. So even that future is going to hold negative stuff, just like the present, although it may be not ideal for what you want, it still has positives. And I think the hard game is to appreciate those positives while they're there, because I feel like in every life stage there's like different positives. You're not going to re-experience the current ones.
Yeah. I think with that, I think like my fundamental belief is that you will never be truly happy in your entire life. And when you make peace with that, you realize then you should be focusing more on learning how to navigate between your positive and negative emotions, rather than trying to get everything that will make you happy. Because there was this quote, I forgot who said it, but I think it goes like this: you have the things that you used to wish you had once upon a time. But then it's very interesting when you look at it like that and you're like, that's actually true. Whether that was yourself 10 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 months ago, there's always going to be something else. You conquer one thing, and that's just how humans are. You conquer one thing, and then you're like, okay, now what? You know? So, yeah. And then when I tie that back to my purpose, I think there's like two purposes I have. One is more like an external one, and one is more of an internal one. So the external one I find is to help people, and that's not in the cliche way, but I think it's more in an emotional sense. So that's not necessarily helping the wider public, right? It's the people that are in my life, to help them tackle their challenges, to process their emotions, to be an ear for them, to just ramble on to. If they need advice, if they need support. Like, if you were to ask me if I would have a night to myself, relax, I don't know, watch some racing or whatever, it's gonna be between that or a friend who needs someone to talk to. I'm always gonna pick the friend that needs talking to. And it's not out of obligation, it's just out of choice. Like, that is my purpose. But then my internal one it's more about mastering my mind, because I find my mind is probably the most tiring place to live in. As positive as it is, it's got equal amounts of negativity in it. and it's always like a battlefield. And every day, during certain periods of my life, it may increase, it may decrease, but like overthinking is a big one, and I see that as a strength, but it's also a weakness. But it's just trying to master that part of my brain, the things that I struggle to accept, learning to be able to accept them. So for example, like when I said death, that's one thing, there's plenty more, but just being able to be comfortable with uncertainty, be comfortable with negativity, and not be so stressed out by it all the time. And I think that's probably going to be a lifelong purpose of mine, is to just master my mind and learn how to be at peace with the things that are in my mind. I think that is mine. Yeah.
I think for that one, like, the thing that comes up in my mind is that being selective with your thoughts.
Yeah.
I think that's what helps me, like, filtering them out and, like, knowing what's healthy, what's unhealthy. Like, if I see that it's, like, productive, it's going to lead to something, I entertain it, whereas if it doesn't, I just kind of, like, ignore it.
Yeah.
And then in terms of, like, purpose, I feel like I have this whole theory about my life, but I think that, so I'm a faithful person. I feel like God has put, like, gifts inside me to help people. I feel like it's like selfish if I don't use these gifts to help people.
Yeah.
So, and I find like the arts are the right place for me to reach those people, because it's like a mass audience, and arts is essentially self-expression and all about emotions, and I think that's what people could really benefit from, like emotional management, like mastering their mind, like all of that stuff. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but like I feel like through, like, for example, songs, through series and storytelling, like that's what reaches people, a story, an emotion, that kind of thing. So using these talents to help people.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
that makes sense. Yeah.
What are your professional aspirations at this life stage, and what soft skills are you putting into practice to actualize them?
Yeah, I think professional aspirations is pretty straightforward for me, but I think I just want to be like, I'm currently in my final year now, and I have a part-time job in the field that I'm working in, which is like software, AI, and just like tech in general. And I want to like pursue that further. I don't just want to be like do the bare minimum. I want to be in a pretty like impactful role in future. And the work that I do, I want it to be intentional. I don't want it to just be repetitive and like just another employee. I would like to work toward management at some point in my professional career in that department, because I think I work pretty well with people, talking to people, leading certain teams, communicating, and so on. So I would say those are like my short to mid-term professional aspirations. Like soft skills, I guess, would that help me to get there? It's just, I think I like wearing my heart on my sleeve. I'm really open. I'm really honest when I talk about things. It's just, I feel like I'm genuine, and that genuineness just shows, and people in the professional world do appreciate that. It's very easy to see when someone is like putting up a facade, and that can only get you so far. So I think that's something that would, like, being genuine would get me pretty far. And I'm hardworking. Like, I put the work in. I recognize when I'm not putting the work in, and I'm honest with myself about it, and I'm saying, like, this isn't good enough. But then I can also say when things have been good enough. So I think just that transparency with myself, and that would show in a professional setting. I would say those are like some things for me.
Yeah. Then in terms of like the genuineness, I think recently, like, everyone's like even on social media, like when they talk about content creation, they always say that authentic content is what reaches people, and that's true because we don't want to watch something that's like putting up a facade.
Yeah.
Even like in terms of like you being genuine, I remember that was the first thing that that was my first impression of you.
Yeah.
When we had our first meeting, you were doing all the talking, but I don't know, I got that feeling from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this question specifically, yeah, it's a bit of a interesting exploration because there are so many potential career paths that there are to do. I mean, I could go down the computer science route, but then there's, who knows, maybe I go into entrepreneurship, or I mean, maybe there's a world where I decide to become like a scientist and do research.
That's fun.
So yeah, there's a lot, and I guess for each thing there's a different value or something, some soft skill to learn. And I think the best way to really get out of, for me personally, I think it's about just learning how to talk to people. Talking with people is, yeah, it's, you get to learn other perspectives, how people, you know, how humanity actually operates. So yeah, I think the main soft skill that I'm trying to take is just go and talk to people, learn how they operate themselves. And I'm making it sound like I'm trying to understand like a new species or something, but each human is so different. I think the only way you can like get better at talking to humans is to actually practice talking to me humans. So and that's the reason why I love hosting the WGGs so much, the weekly growth gatherers, because it's a great opportunity to go and hear the ideas that people have, see how they think, and just, yeah, I think it's a beautiful opportunity to discover more about humanity.
I'm always fascinated by humanity. Like even, I feel like at uni you get that access to so many people that you wouldn't get elsewhere. Like when in your life are you going to meet all these people at once? It's like thousands of, like you're not going to meet 1,000 people, but like say 100 people, like they're so different. You get to like mingle with these people and like hear how their brains work, and you learn from them. Like we don't have just strengths, we have weaknesses. Like as we've been like talking, like I can identify when someone has a strength that I don't have, so then that inspires me to like learn from them, like how they're going about the thing, so that I could reduce the stress on myself. What was I gonna say also? Yeah, in terms of like meeting so many people at uni, like I don't want uni to finish, to be honest. Like I'm in my 3rd year and like I'm really enjoying it, and like I love being in a class where like there's so much like intellectual conversations going on. Like that really stimulates me. I'm like, yeah, I need that. Yeah. In this light, do you feel like you're the leader of your own life, and how do you visualize your ideal life?
Wait, can you say that again?
Yeah. In this light, so since we're talking about like your career and like what you want to do you feel like you're the leader of your own life, and how do you visualize your ideal life?
I think up until a certain point recently, I didn't feel like I was the leader of my own life. I felt like I've been distracted by things on the side that I thought were nice to do, nice to pursue. They satisfied a part of my ego, I guess, that made me feel like I was being a good person. But I wasn't going in the direction that I wanted my own life to go into. And so recently I've been working towards actually living a life that I feel like I own. And I think it really goes back to the points I've mentioned before. It's just the life that I want to live, the ideal life, isn't one that I actually know what the future is, but I can still move because I'm very, I guess, stuck to my own values, whatever they may be. I'm true to myself. And if I'm true to myself, then it doesn't really matter what comes afterwards, because that's just the way I'll react to it, is one that's actually faithful towards me. And if I can live a life that's based on like one that has faith in myself rather than distrust in myself, to the point where I try to like live a life that is considered good by others, I don't think I would be satisfied with a life just living by the rules of others that they've decided for themselves are good. I want to live my own life. So I think an ideal life for me would just be, live true. Because I really do believe, and it goes repeating myself again, but the best things that will happen in life, I don't think you could ever prepare for. And so if the best things aren't things that, when I'm thinking I could ever prepare for, then I'm going to stop doing that. I'm just going to live as true as I can to who I am right now, rather than try and be someone else, or try and tell myself that, oh, here's this really amazing goal that's here in the future. I'm just going to make this moment my ideal life.
I feel like we get like negative surprises in life, but we also get positive ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of proves to us that we can let go and trust that good things are going to happen. I feel like it links back to that point.
Yeah, no, I think I would say I like to think I'm the leader in my own life. Like, I think I'm a big believer in, like, one of my philosophies is just like, you happen to life rather than life happens to you. And it's something I try and live by as much as I can. So I do try and take charge, and it's not always consistent. Sometimes I do fall a bit behind, but then I always recognize at some point, okay, I'm a bit off the bandwagon. It's time to get back on it again. And yeah, in that sense, I just, my dream life, or like how I want my life to be, is just balanced. So that's balanced with career, relationships, like health, fitness, hobbies, passions, just everything, so that I feel like I'm consistently like partaking in all of those aspects of my life. I think right now one thing I struggle with is I visualize that that's the life I want to live, but right now I'm not ticking all the boxes. So that always makes me feel like I'm not like living that life or working toward that life. But yeah, that's just, I think that's how I view it. Yeah, it's just, I would say I'm the leader and it is my responsibility to do it. But it's a process, it's a journey, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. I feel like it becomes even more like clear to us that we're the leaders of our lives and no one's going to come and save us during uni, because that's when like you finish school, you're no longer like restricted by like those hours, that place. You can just basically do whatever you want alongside your studies if you're studying. That's where you kind of like shape your future, I guess, or you start working towards it.
Yeah.
What is a leader in your opinion? What defines a true leader?
Oh, I love that question. It sounds kind of cliche, but I would say courage. But it's courage in the sense that you know that you're just like everyone else, and that every leader that ever has been and every person that is a leader is just another person who decided to step forward. And I think that takes, in a sense, it puts a lot of pressure on you, but it also takes a lot of pressure off of you, realizing that a leader is just someone who chose to be bold. They're not necessarily gifted with that. Maybe you could argue they are, but it's more of a choice that you make rather than a skill that you have. And maybe the choice that you make, or the ability to make that choice, is a skill, but I think it's just more showing a sense of bravery, a sense of courage, and being comfortable with being wrong is another thing, because you step up, you do it for the first time, you're the one out of 100 people doing it. If you put your foot wrong, yes, you're responsible for leading everyone the wrong way, but no one else was the one who stood up to lead. So you kind of have to pride yourself in the fact that you stepped up, and you can admit when you get it wrong, and it just makes you a better leader, I think, to accept that and then to grow from that. But I would say, like, for me, there's plenty more that defines a leader, but I think just having the courage and having that confidence in your ability to make decisions, even if you get it wrong some of the times.
Yeah. I feel like even as leaders, or like the top leader, it's always like they're responsible for everyone, they're taking care of everyone, but who takes care of them?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's something that's like not factored in. Or even like in my industry, like for example, a director, like whatever like happens, it's like on the director, they let the actors that way. It's like all the responsibility falls on them. It's like really stressful, but like filmmaking is teamwork, so if someone's slacking off, everyone's gonna get impacted, but the blame is on the director.
And yeah, I agree with Rivan's definition very much. I think adding on to it, I think it's people when they think of like what a leader should be, sometimes they can think about like, oh, it's like this person who's always got everything under control, right? Nothing ever goes wrong without them. But I think a leader's true potential, true capabilities are shown when things are falling apart. That's when a leader truly does shine. And yeah, it's taking that bravery, as Rivan said, like being brave and still doing what you can, the right thing. That's what it's about. It's not about being someone who can necessarily 100% deliver the results. I don't think that's important. It's about showing up in the first place, having that, just showing up, doing your best. And then again, that sounds so cliche, but yeah, I don't think a leader is something that is like this perfect messiah that's like come down to like grace us all and like just has this perfect understanding of everything. It's someone who's very imperfect, has so many imperfections. Technically, I guess maybe wouldn't even be qualified to be a leader according to, I guess, standards some people would have. But even then, shows up to deliver and just try to deliver. But the fact that they show up to deliver in the first place, I think is what makes a leader, because they lead. They go and take that initiative to do their best, even when nothing is promised.
I think you learn how to be a leader when you become a leader. You don't learn it, like you don't learn it with theories, you learn it by actually applying it. Like I'm doing a subject now where they're teaching us like how to engage like stakeholders internally and like leadership and culture and all that stuff. But like because we're already practicing it in management, I feel like that's giving me the edge more than the actual class.
No.
Yeah, and you really learn like by actually mingling with people, by leading them.
No.
Like I even have this document, like whenever I learn something new about leadership, I just add it on.
No.
So then like it's kind of like a reflective practice so that I'm improving on myself. Like I kind of have taken leadership as like a side quest.
No, that's cool.
Like as a challenge, which I like. Yeah.
That's great.
As president and ex-president, what would you say your top 3 leadership lessons are?
Leadership lessons.
I'm happy to go and
Yeah, go for it.
start. I'm honestly going to be coming up with these on the spot completely. I think the first one that comes to mind is you can't have, part of being a leader isn't making sure that you're meant to like alleviate all the responsibilities and hard work of other people. When I first became president, I thought, hey, I'm going to make every single executive position as easy as possible for other people. I don't want anyone to have any stress whatsoever. And I started doing the work of the executives. That wasn't my role as a leader. I wasn't meant to go and do that for them. What I learned is that we're all meant to be working together. And as a leader, I'm meant to help my fellow executives fulfill their potential in whatever way that maybe. I think the second biggest lesson I learned is that you do need to keep a lookout for how everyone's doing. People will have issues, which, they aren't going to go and express it to you. As a leader, back when I was president, I thought, if anyone had an issue, they would just go and tell me the issue. And that would be a great chance for me to confront the issue then and there. What I realized was that a lot of people will have an issue. They won't necessarily bring it up until like the very end. And when they do bring it up, it's already built up over a long period of time. And so as a president, you do need to be proactive to be on the lookout to see how your executives are, how they're feeling. You need to be there and continuously be reaching out to them, understanding how they're feeling, what they want to achieve, what they want to do, any thoughts they have. That's something you do have to do. And the third one is you have to set a boundary between you and the society. The society can't be something that is everything there for you. It can't be something that consumes you. That sets a bad precedent, to be honest, for everyone else in the society. And yeah, it's you, when you yourself can manage your own balance with the society, you know, your own time commitments, you can actually, not just the society, but like any aspect, whatever you're in a leadership position in, it gives other people an idea, because people will, regardless of whether you want them to or not, as leader, people will subconsciously look to you as a like template for like, how are things going? Are things going good? Are things going bad? You don't really get a choice. People will look up to you subconsciously as like a signal of how things are going. And so, yeah, it's important to go and maintain whatever boundaries you can to ensure that things aren't like you aren't being overly consumed by whatever you're leading.
People want to be led.
Yeah,
That's what I've realized.
it provides that sense of certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are very interesting points. I would say one of my main ones that I learned was to step off of the pedestal when you talk to who you lead. That is to not a pedestal that you put yourself on, but one that often others put you on, because as a leader, everyone looks up to you, right? And I find there are different leadership styles, but mine very much goes with the inclusive leadership. I do and can make the decisive final calls, but I do also like letting people step forward, especially if they want to. So another big thing is, so I guess for that is to step off of the pedestal and treat them as an equal, but at certain times. Obviously, as the leader, you need to be the leader, but you don't want to be too bossy of a leader as well. So that's one of the lessons I've learned over the years. Another one I would say is to make a choice, and when you make the choice, you don't beat yourself up over the outcome of the choice. So maybe the choice is correct and there's no issues. Maybe the choice wasn't necessarily resulting in the outcome that you wanted. That doesn't mean you just get to beat yourself up about it and say, oh, like, it was the wrong choice, I'm not good enough for this. Like, that shouldn't affect how you view yourself as a leader. You should have accountability, take accountability and be like, yep, this went wrong. This is something I can improve on. But it doesn't undermine my ability as a leader. I think that's important, to just take failure as a lesson and not a reflection of your ability. So I would say that's my second lesson. And then my third lesson would be to not let the role of being a leader consume you, in the sense that maybe out of obligation you feel this sense of responsibility, and there is that responsibility, that is the fact at the end of the day. But you also need to, this goes very much with the fact of what I said earlier about you being you're the one who decided to step up. Everyone is the same, you're just the one who's directing them, leading them, right? And it is your job to direct and lead them, but it is also your job to make sure you don't let that override your life, right? And I guess this is more in let's say society settings or workplace settings. I'm sure it's different if you lead a country or something, then it's a lot more of a responsibility. But when leadership is only a small aspect of your life, it's important to put yourself first. Yeah, I would say put yourself first. It may sound selfish, but as much as it's your responsibility to take care and lead others, it's your responsibility to take care of yourself and lead yourself in your life in whatever direction you're headed in. But that's obviously challenging, because then you kind of contrast two aspects of life where you're leading others and then you want to live your life, and then you need to balance between how you live your life without, failing to lead the others, and vice versa, not leading the others too much and neglecting your own life. So yeah, I guess it all comes down to balance. But yeah, my third lesson would be, don't think of yourself less than you would if you weren't a leader. Yeah.
I think even in just like any work, like even if it's not leadership, like that work-life balance is really important. Like before I would just like work, but like I realized at some stage that that's not helping. What about a leadership mistake or blind spot that you would warn a new leader about?
You gave me a couple of these, actually.
Did I? Which ones did I give you?
I think one of the ones that you said was to not, it was kind of like on the topic of not beating yourself up about, making a mistake, or if someone says a certain thing or makes a certain judgment about you as a leader, and just being okay with that and saying that, look, this is going to happen regardless. I remember it was something along those lines, but
no, thank you for bringing that up. I'm happy to go into a bit more detail. But yeah, I think, when you're in that leadership position, the truth is you're the only person who actually in that position can understand what's being told to you in that position. It's very easy for people to go and criticize that person, like when you are in a leadership position. It's very easy because everyone's focal point is on this one person. That's basically at the center of, I guess, an organization and its operations. That person who is in the center is really the only person who has the ultimate final valid say on what is actually happening. They're the person who has the full context of it, the entire situation. And it's hard because ultimately you hear all of everyone else's opinions about what's happening to you, and it can be a lot of noise. But to filter it out, it has to be your own judgment. I think what makes this a bit easier is you are voted in as a leader to lead, and part of leading is using your own judgment. So yeah, it's a bit of a fine line between realizing when it's overly just listening to your own voice, or then listening to everyone else's voice to the point that you lose your own. You have to find that right balance, because it needs to be that harmony. Because at the end of the day, everyone wasn't elected to be president. You were. But then you weren't alone elected to run the entire society based on your own whims. Everyone else elected you based on what they thought was right. So it's finding that fine line, whatever that may be. And that takes practice. You have to just get in there and find out from personal experience.
Okay. Like even we sent out feedback forms for like execs to fill out. I was reading through the responses. At first I was like, yeah, these are good ideas, but then when I gave them a second read, like at a later time, I was like, actually, you know what, like I judged them and I was like, some of them not really, like I don't really agree with. Like,
no.
It's true what you said about, like, at the end it's your judgment, like you see the full picture, the full context more. Like they're just basing it off their perspective with what they're receiving, but you're the one that has that vision and like is like actually doing the work and like being there in the meetings.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think mine, it kind of does build off of that. Like, my big thing is don't let anyone undermine what you see your ability to be as a leader. It's just, you're here for a reason. You're here because you stepped up. People are going to critique you for what you do. Maybe you're not going to perform as well as you think you would. But no matter what, you shouldn't let what anyone else say dictate how you view yourself as a leader and how you choose to lead people. You choose to lead people how you think best. like you kind of said, like getting feedback is good because then it helps you reflect and decide. But people may just put feedback and you'll be like, no, I don't agree.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's part of your job as a leader, is to just be a little bit, I wouldn't say selfish, I wouldn't say like cocky, but like have that confidence in yourself and know when you think you're right versus where others may be right or wrong, and to just go with your gut and call the shots. And if 90% of people aren't happy but you think that's the right thing to do, then you do that.
Yeah, and as you were saying, like, they elected you, so they should trust you.
Yeah.
For people considering a leadership role, what would you say the benefits or gains of being a leader are?
I would say confidence. Like, it helps you build confidence in your personality. I've been in a few leadership roles like over the years, and it's made me secure in my decision making. And the way I view decision making is, it is a gamble most of the time. It's choosing between one or the other, but that's what being decisive is. So I would say some things I've gained from it is confidence and decisiveness. It's just like life happens quickly, you know. You got to make decisions, and there's no point waiting around to make decisions. You just go with what you think, and it may be wrong. It's as simple as like when someone says, oh, do you want to eat at this restaurant or that restaurant?
Yeah.
You just pick the restaurant, because like maybe you'll enjoy the other one 2% more than this one, but how does that matter, right? So I view decision making, obviously there's like a spectrum, and there are some decisions which are like hefty and there's a lot of weight on them, which you have to consider deeper. But yeah, like just being decisive and being confident in your personality, like those are two things I would say I've gained from leadership. Yeah.
I feel like leadership opportunities are a really good chance, and kind of jumping off of Rivan's thing, specifically with the advantages of doing all of that decision making and carrying the mantle of the leader. It's a really good chance to test your values, redefine what actually matters to you. There's so many good opportunities where you'll be tested multiple times over things that like are involved in running whatever it is you're running. Things that you ordinarily wouldn't take part in, but you have to because of circumstances. It's a great opportunity to just discover who you are and also reevaluate your values, because you will have to act according to who you are. And then when those actions come, you'll see the outcome. And you'll see, this is the person I am, ultimately, when things happen. What does that say about me? What does it say about the person I am? And who do I want to become? So it's a really good chance to self-reflect.
It's like you're being workshopped.
Basically, yeah. It's a very interesting and unique workshop experience you can only get from participating in it yourself. You can't read a book like you can learn the theory again and again. You can learn the theory about leadership, but being in that leadership position, it's kind of like you can learn the strategies of running. But if you don't know how to run, if you don't practice running, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, everything in practice is like a completely different reality than like thinking about it. Last question. What value or opportunity do you think our society offers when it comes to leadership and exercising your life philosophies and or visions?
Yeah, I think especially with our weekly growth gathers, we provide several opportunities to our members to go and really express their philosophies, their opinions with others. I think part of what makes Personal Growth Society so beautiful in the first place is that none of us are really here to tell you how to live, right? Even in this conversation, Natalie, you're giving your opinions and your thoughts, how you view life, like you mentioned before earlier on, but your theory of life, how you believe God gave you gifts for you to fulfill. Rivan's told us his, perspectives and like decision making and whatnot, and it's just, that's the beauty of it. Because like right now, as we're speaking, we're able to refine our understanding of reality, whatever that may be, whatever the truth is. And I feel like it's a continuous refinement. And the only losing game is when you stop refining it and claim you have the truth, when I don't think anyone ever does. So our weekly growth gatherers are a good opportunity, an amazing opportunity for you to be with a group, like-minded people who also have their own perspectives of this world, but then you can hear them. Not only you can hear them, but you can express yourself, and as you're expressing yourself, you get more fluent in articulating your opinions to other people and saying what truly means to you. And it's also a good chance for you to really reflect, because I feel like we can be stuck in our thoughts and we think we know, what we're about, but when you actually say it, that's a different thing. It's do I actually mean this? It's a filter for what you actually truly believe in. So yeah, the personal, the weekly growth gatherers at the Personal Growth Society, amazing opportunity. We have discussions, group discussions, where people can go and express these opinions to each other, speak openly, and yeah, it's a great opportunity to go and refine your own values, your own visions, and ultimately be more independent in who you want to be, and helps you lead the life you want to have.
I like the word refinement.
No, I fully agree. I would say for me, and this is from experience as well, when I joined this society, I obviously joined as a member once upon a time. And I think the biggest opportunity that this society gives is the people in it, the access to the people that are in it. Of course, we have amazing events, and we will have even more, insanely well-structured workshops and so on for actual active engagement in personal growth. But being surrounded by people, at the end of the day, if you even have an urge inside, an itch to be some form of a leader, being in a group of these people will allow you to let that shine. I feel like I've always been a leader, and I didn't come into this society and then get given a leadership opportunity, but I felt comfortable enough with the people around me to pursue that and to just let it grow. And I think that's a beautiful thing about this. That's one of my favorite things about this society, is that the people, I think most people when they join this society, they feel at home.
Yeah.
They found a place that they belong, that they have been trying to find for so long, because they haven't really felt like that they belong elsewhere. And once you find that, you're able to just really be yourself and to just let all of your strong qualities shine. And I think leadership, in that decisiveness, all of these things, they shine through, and other people encourage you to show it even more. And eventually, if leadership is a really big thing to you in your life, you will find yourself just pursuing those opportunities naturally. So yeah, I would say it's not a set thing, but it's more about the culture and the environment of the society.
Yeah. I feel like our society, even if there's subgroups of friendships, but everyone gels well together. You can always have a conversation with people. Last episode we had Nathan and Pram. I'm close to them, but not super close. But I sat down with them. It felt like friends having a conversation. So that was nice.
Yeah.
You get to see different perspectives and just learn from them. Yeah. Okay. Usually what we do at the end of the episode is motivational quotes. I've got 3. 2 are for leadership and 1 is for personal values. So the leadership ones are: leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. That's by Sheryl Sandberg. Then the second one is: a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but need to be. That's Rosalind Carter. And then the third one is, this one's about values. Values are like fingerprints. Nobody's are the same, but you leave them all over everything you do. By Elvis Presley. Yeah, that's it.
Very interesting.
Interesting. The last one was interesting. Values are like fingerprints, but you leave them. That's nice. I like that perspective.
Yeah. When I read it, it just hit.
Yeah.
Thank you for this episode. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. And thank you to our audience for listening to this episode. As usual, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know any topics you're interested in us talking about. And I think just ultimately what I realized in this episode is that we are the leaders of our own lives, and our philosophies are what underpin this leadership. So I think if you're feeling stuck and uncertain of the next step, just find the beliefs and the values that align with you, because then you'll be able to direct yourself to the people and the places that align with you and you only.